What's going on, guys? This is the good doctor, Landon Hale, and you better watch your back because we're here with Drinkin at Moe's.
Hell yeah.
This is Drinkin at Moe's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Moe's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Moe's, that's where it's at, like a power bomb. We hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' Moe's be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code Drinkin' at Moe's, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody, welcome Drinkin' at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm is continuing to be a pain in the ass. Don't forget to leave a comment a review on the audio platforms. That helps out there. Today, I'm excited to have with me the good doctor, Landon Hale. How you doing?
I'm doing good, sir. How you doing?
Can't complain. Like you mentioned a little bit before we started, got some cool stuff lined up. I still trying to nail down the date on a big interview with the guy that in my commentary debut, I actually got a call in the main event, and Cheeseburger.
Oh, Cheeseburger. Hell yeah.
So yeah, still nailing down the date, trying to get it set up before he leaves for Europe. So he's a busy man. He's a busy man. But first thing I like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make that leap into the business?
So this is the best story that I love to tell because it all comes together.
Okay.
So I became a fan when I was about 4 or 5 years old. My dad and I grew up watching wrestling together. Everyone has their different views of it, like WWF, or did they grow up WCW? I grew up WCW. My favorite wrestler ever is Rey Mysterio. His was Kevin Nash. So and I'll dive a little bit deeper into that too.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyways, my dad passed away when I was 7. So from the time that I was 5 up until then, that was like one of the biggest memories or biggest things that we shared together was wrestling outside of everything else that we've done. And where he passed away, I wandered off from the wrestling scene for a little bit. And I think it was like, I want to say 2004 is I saw an advertisement for WrestleMania 20. And then I watched Saturday Night Velocity. You remember when Saturday Night Velocity and Sunday Night Heat came on?
Oh yeah.
And I remember seeing Rey Mysterio pop up, and I was like, I know this guy. Like it just, euphoria. I was like, who is this guy? And then I was like, oh, I grew up watching this guy and I loved him. And then you see a bunch of other high flyers, and I just locked back into it. I was like, it brought me back in. And then I want to say it was 2018. Yeah, it was March of 2018. I went to a Comic-Con convention in Lexington, Kentucky, because I'm from Kentucky. So around that area, I went with one of my buddies, and he was opening up his own stand there, and he was like, "You're not going to believe who is signing autographs at Comic-Con." And he said Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash. So I got it was a full circle moment. I got to meet my favorite wrestler. I got to meet my dad's favorite wrestler, which I actually got to meet Kevin Nash. I got to meet him at an Outback Steakhouse in 2008 in Florida. he just happened to be there with his son, and then just got to take a picture with him. And then 4 days later, I met Hulk Hogan, which that was cool.
Oh
But
yeah.
I digress on that. But yeah, so you fast forward a few months later after I got their autographs and stuff. One of my buddies, he's a wrestler in Kentucky, and he put down on Facebook, he was like, name 2 wrestlers. It's kind of like the make me choose between the 2.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said my 2 wrestlers, and then I kind of go down the list from there, and I'm just kind of making extra comments, and he's answering all these questions. And then, and the thing about Kentucky is that I'm not dissing on it in any way, shape, or form, but it's not as heavy when it comes to independent wrestling compared to the Northeast, compared to the Southeast, compared to Missouri, compared to the West Coast, so on and so forth. So I said, you know what? I have one life. I only get the chance to live that life once. Let me get the chance to see what this is about. So I hit my buddy up and I said, hey, do you have any insight on how I can become a wrestler? And he said, meet me at my buddy's place. And he ended up being my friend as well, which this year makes 3 years he'll be gone. So rest in peace to him. But he had a ring set up in his backyard. And in Kentucky, you can't have you have to have a license in order to wrestle. So during that time, we gotta keep it on the hush hush. We just tell people that we're doing Zumba or something. I don't know, something weird excuse if anyone asks. But
yeah.
But I got in the ring. I took a bump. I was sore the next day, but it was just like, this feels nice. This feels wonderful. And then I wanted to get on my first show, and obviously with trying to pay your dues and trying to work your way up, I was very lucky enough to have the short amount of time with training before I got into wrestling. So after a few bumps, my buddy was like, hey, we need you to go to St. Paul, Virginia. It's right next door, Kentucky. So I'm East Kentucky. So it's like western part of Virginia. And there's a guy by the name of Mike Sampson, and he goes by Iron Cross on the independent scenes. Very great guy. He's very old school. Like, you go into his basement, 1970s, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the rust is coming off of the iron.
Yeah.
And we had the old school ring where there's like a legit spring in the middle. So you had to bump in the center or else your back is jacked.
Oh,
yeah, it was awful. But yeah, so I only had 2 training sessions, and then there's a wrestling show that came up in Kentucky, and I said, you know what, I want to show up to it. I have my Kentucky license. I'm ready to give this a go. They were wanting me to be a referee at first, but then I will always be thankful for these 2 guys, JT Walker and Eric Porter, because when I was there, I was like, okay, they had the ring set up, and they're usually late with putting it up. So they're like, hey, let's get in the ring and just kind of see what you can do. Went through everything, went through the basics, and they're like, this kid has something. Let's get him on the show. And I had 2 matches with only 2 days of training, and then pretty much ever since then it's skyrocketed. So there's more to the story, but that's just how I got into it.
Oh no, that's awesome. I love hearing those little origin stories, if you will. Like, when you brought up WrestleMania 20, I'm like, holy crap, that was actually the first pay-per-view I ever watched as it was happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I was going to school before the Navy, and I think actually, yeah, I remember it was a sports and marketing class, and one of the we were on a project, and one guy was like, oh, WrestleMania. And I'm like, you want to? And then there was a restaurant in town that was going to be showing WrestleMania. So they're like, you want to meet up there? Because I had to give him something for the project. And I'm like,
yeah,
hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, of course. Funny enough, and this is a random fact, but I've never bought a pay-per-view for a pay-per-view event for wrestling growing up, ever. It's always been on a Peacock stream or always on the WWE Network stream. Never paid for it. I was back in my time when I would hit the refresh button on WWE.com to see the results. And so like I would see JBL win. I'm like, oh, come on. Like in 5th grade, heartbreaking.
Oh yeah. Oh God. I remember memories of doing that more than I care to admit. But I have bought some pay-per-views. I think first one I ever actually bought was another WrestleMania when I was in San Diego with the Navy. And I think it was the one where it was Miz and John Cena in the main event.
Okay. Let's see. It may have been wrestling. Was this when The Rock came out?
I am trying to. I think it might have been because
The
I
Miz won the
know.
title
Yeah, I'm well. Miz retained because I
or
know
retained.
his big thing is always he retained the title at WrestleMania and beat John Cena.
Yeah, so that was when The Rock came out because I think the next year was Rock and Cena, 29
Yeah,
was Rock and Cena again, and then 30 was the Daniel Bryan spiel. Yeah.
yep. I remember that very well. And much like you, I've been able to meet some of my favorites. I mean, hell, my entire background here, the whole top shelf. I don't like to buy them like pre-signed. I like taking it to the person, but literally, I'm having to go down to the second shelf now.
Oh wow.
And I got everybody from Hangman and Lance Archer, Jeff Cobb, Swerve and Keith Lee, and then Matt Cardona and Danhausen.
That's pretty cool. I'll tell you a cool story. I got to meet Lance Archer for the first time. I did a this was immediately before COVID hit. Do you remember do you remember when Lance Archer was trying to do it was like the Murder Hawk Mansion?
Mm.
So they had like a small ring out back, and this is a vignette that they did when it was Lance Archer versus Cody. I was one of the guys on the outside, and like he would elbow me and
No
big boot
kidding.
me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the time I got to meet him was actually at a fan fest for Warrior Wrestling. They made a stop in St. Louis, and he happened to be one of the matches. And, I got invited to be down there as part of the fan fest, podcast and everything. And was like, holy crap, here I am in the midst of Jeff Cobb and Lance Archer and Athena and my big shorter episode with now backed by Bronson Reed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a fun time. So I've been fortunate. So
that's awesome.
I also like to talk with my guests about how they came up with their in-ring personas, because everybody has their own journey towards where they found that one that finally stuck. Like hell, Stone Cold, when my personal all-time favorite, he had that whole journey from the ringmaster to they're wanting to give him all these goofy old names, and then he finally came up and boom, rocket to the damn moon.
Oh, absolutely. I think with me, like I think I still have a little bit of searching to do, but I mean, even starting off at the beginning, I was just myself. Like I wanted to be this clean cut baby. I mean, I'm still a clean cut baby face, but yeah, just kind of like just be myself. But again, people wants to have more of the characteristics. They want to have something where they can latch onto. And with me growing up, in the wrestling business for like, I guess, being in wrestling now for 6 years, it's one of those things where I wanted to keep my in-ring persona away from my, my actual job persona. So like being like the chiropractor, and I'm like, okay, like I want to try to separate those because some people can do that. There's some people out there that are, they're doing something else on the side and then they're a wrestler and they don't mix and match.
Yeah.
But the more that I think about it, because I am, I'm a very genuine dude, when it comes to, outside of wrestling. And I also want to be a dude that you don't want to mess with in the ring as well. But I've also worked hard at all the stuff that I've done. I've had a lot of, things growing up in my life that, out of nowhere, my dad passing away, for example. Like I moved to different schools. I didn't have a lot of like good friends growing up. I was picked on, there was a lot of different things about me growing up where just kind of like you have to get myself on a big platform to kind of help me express those stories, because it's not more than just hey, I come out, here I am. It's layers to it. But being the good doctor, because chiropractors are good doctors to help people get off of medications, being able to enjoy their quality of life without having to, go down a medical route. Which there's always going to be a time and place for that, but just to make sure that you're living a good life like that.
Cool.
but then even just saying, like, and again, just kind of like an ironic statement was, I always say watch your back, but in reality, I always have your back. And so I'm a punny person as well.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of different qualities that come about. And I feel like it can evolve more over time, but I try to be more 3D when it comes to my character in the ring and how I present myself versus just, oh, here's a character, go about it. Like I try to be as real as I can in and out of the ring.
Oh yeah, and those the in-ring personas that it seems like the fans latch onto the most are those ones where there's that sense of realism with it, that they're like, you can tell when somebody's just playing a character and they're not like an authentic version of themselves. Like it's been said that those that the best ones are those that it's just you turned, maybe even just turned up a little bit.
Yep.
And I was noticing some similarities a little bit between you and me with starting the podcast. Growing up, I was a bit of a bullied kid, and then I got into the Navy, and that kind of snapped a lot of that stuff out of me, but there's still that sense there. But it got me also thinking that there was some of those paying dues and thinking, oh crap, is there going to be a month where maybe I'm not recording, and then all of a sudden my wife and I were pregnant with twin girls, and long story short, they were born way too premature and only made it a week. And there was that point in time where I didn't know if I was going to jump back into it. But then my wife at the time helped out during haunted house season with this one that used to run in town. Then I'm like, damn it, I got to figure out something to do because I'm not going to be seeing her for shit. And then I just got to thinking my little girls wouldn't want daddy to be a quitter. So I just jumped full force right back into it. And now I'm the type that like, I'll do review shows for my 2 cent stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to be some of those typical ones where it's like, you almost feel like they're kissing the promotion's ass. Like, right. I'm going to go over obviously the good, but I'm also going to cover the bad and what I call the what the fuck. Like, right. I'm going to cover it all. And that way it's like, you know what? You're not going to get any biased stuff from me. I'm going to be me, unfiltered, raw. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to be going and at least on purpose saying some offensive stuff, but for the most part, no fucking filter. That's just me in general anyways. And when I joined in on commentary, that was me. I'm the guy that, I'm the same on commentary as I would be sitting in the crowd, just being a freaking goofball and trying to get people to crack.
There you go. Yeah, you gotta have. I mean, again, like, and again, I'm sorry, and like, you told me your story, and I'm sorry for what that you went through, but it does give you that extra motivation though with your life, and it's like yes, we can dwell on the stuff that's going on, but you have that life that you got to live, and you got to keep on moving. But that's inspiring, bro. I'm happy that you're doing all of that, man. You're doing great.
Oh yeah,
be proud of yourself.
That means a lot because I can be my own worst critic, but. Yeah,
brother, aren't we all?
No, yeah, no. Like mentioning me being a goofball and getting people to crack. I actually, unfortunately, one of them. It was during a picture-in-picture moment on TV, but I could see it. But I've actually gotten Mike Bennett to crack during a show where it was an independent show, and I just yelled out, "Adam!" And you can just see him looking down, trying to hide it. You can see him just
trying to like cover his face, like nope, not doing
this. And then I talked to him after the show, and he's like, "Dude, you pumped the hell out of me." I'm like, "Yes,
that's what you want." Love it. Love it. Love
And
it. Love it.
then on the Collision taping that I went to, I was third row right behind the announce desk. And it was during a Tony Storm match where earlier in the week she made a comment about Mariah May slapping the tits off her opponent. So I yelled out when she was in the corner one time, slap her tits off. And Luther just goes, what the fuck? And
That's
like
awesome.
you can see it in the picture-in-picture moment. I'm like, I was half disappointed and half like, I got him.
Dude, like you just in the back, just like giving two thumbs up. They're like,
Yeah.
what's going on? I love it.
Yeah. Oh man, it was too much fun. But one promotion that I actually saw you at, and I like putting together my notes for the episode, I noticed it's only been one match, but I believe I was actually watching it on Triller TV, but for a Revolver, a scramble match. And I'm like, I remember watching that show, but with the amount of wrestling I watch, and sometimes hell, I'm at damn near 300 episodes. Sometimes my memory gets a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you? Because I know for me, anytime I've gone to a Revolver show, or anytime that I've had people from Revolver on, man, it's just fun.
It's one of the best shows I've ever been on. So I kind of been like, I'll take you back to February. Sammy Callahan did a seminar, and and again, I'm out of Massachusetts, so he did one for at the Limitless venue that they were doing it at, and his seminar was so good. And I got to match up with Brett Ryan Gosling, and we just did something very small, just to kind of show what we can do. And then after that, I talked with Sammy after, and he was like, yeah, man, like we're really interested, and like we exchanged numbers, which was nice. And, just show that, he's interested. And then you fast forward a few months later, and then I'm in a scramble match. I'm like, this is so cool. And it's me, BRG, and it's like a bunch of awesome guys in there. You have Ricky Shane Page, Madman Fulton, Ace Austin, Braden Lee, Babushka, Jeffrey John. It's like everyone was in there, and it was such a good time. And again, the locker room, the experience, the wrestlers, everyone was just so awesome. Like that like there's some wrestling locker rooms that you go into, you're just kind of like, like it's nothing, like it's not like it's a person in there or people. It's just sometimes you get in, you're like, wow, like this mood just kind of feels
that vibe you get is just like meh.
It's, you can tell like if it sucks the light out of you or not, or life out of you. And like I go there and I'm just like, man, this gives me life. And the funny thing about this is that I drove, what was it? I think it was like Thursday night from Massachusetts. We drove down to New Jersey to meet up with a few of my buddies because they wanted to go. We drove 6 extra hours or 9 extra hours or something like that out to Dayton, Ohio. And then we decided to sleep in our car for a little bit. This was a big pickup truck where it wasn't a lot of room. And so we wrestled there, came back, and I was very, very sleep deprived, but I would do it all over again just because that show was so much fun. Revolver is, and I hope I get to come back, but that show was just amazing.
Oh yeah. I've yet to make it to an Ohio stop, but they also do plenty in Des Moines, Iowa. So I'm like, man, they need to get you on one of them Iowa stops, and I'll try to make it out there for that, because I think this one coming up is going to be the first one that I've missed in a little while.
Yeah.
Just because I'm actually going to my wife has always wanted to go to a Nebraska football game, but a night one. And my family has had season tickets in the family since the big sellout streak started back in like the 1960s.
Oh, wow.
And
talk about a history.
Yeah. And I get to go like at the very least once a season. And just so happens that I didn't realize this when we asked for the game that we did, but it's going to be sellout 400.
There you go.
And hell, they're off to a great start, so I can't complain there. But yeah,
there you go.
Back on Revolver, yeah, I have not had one bad experience there. Like, hell, I even took my friend that's the co-host of My Two Cents with me to his first one. You know, I've had Jake Christ on. I've had Bobby Olson on. I've had Sean T, the ring announcer, on. I've had a lot of people on. I've, been to a handful of the shows. And, I was telling them, oh, yeah, I've talked to so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And then when these guys were coming up and actually proving me right on the way home, he was like, you never know when you're talking to somebody, how true their words actually are for stuff like that. But you weren't fucking kidding. I'm like,
right.
I told you.
There you go.
Now, another promotion, I've heard of these guys, but the amount of wrestling I watch, I haven't been able to watch as much of theirs as I want. But on Matchless, there's a lot for Beyond Wrestling. And I hear a lot of great stuff about them, and they seem very much a destination spot in the Northeast, when the Northeast is filled with a lot of destination spots for independent wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
What has your experience been like there with them? What do you got going on right now for those that might not be as familiar with Beyond Wrestling?
So Beyond Wrestling, and I can't really give a good history on it for myself, just because, again, I moved up to Massachusetts a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I've only heard about Beyond when I first got into. If I'm being completely honest, very transparent when it comes to independent wrestling. I didn't get into heavy of an idea of how many independent wrestling promotions there are out in the world until probably 2021. And so that's when people were telling me oh, there's Beyond, there's Northeast Wrestling, there's Limitless, there's Prestige, there's West Coast, there's Define. I'm like, wow, there's a lot, and I didn't even realize it. So as I do more digging and do more searching and doing more history search on everything, especially with Beyond, they do hold a good history of, great talent that's came in that's wrestled for them. So MJF, AR Fox, which I had a little bit of training under him. So shout out to AR Fox. You have Chris Statlander, Willa Nightingale, Wheeler Yuta. So there's just a lot of good talent that's came and gone, and they wrestled for Beyond. But yes, it's one of the top shows top promotions that you want to be on in the Northeast. So my experience with them has been really good. We actually had the chance to wrestle. We were supposed to wrestle at, I forgot the name of the diner or the name of the restaurant, but we were supposed to wrestle there. And I think it was last month, and we were supposed to wrestle outside in their parking lot. Then I guess they were in fear of having a rain out or a rain delay, so they wanted to move the ring into the Palladium, which is a big concert venue that ECW used to run in. And it's a big hall. It's great, and they also got to do. So it was so cool just because we did a mix up of 30 minutes of wrestling, 30 minutes of a band playing. And we just did that back and forth. So I was segment 2, I believe. And I wrestled a young student, Julius Drager, a very, very young student. He has a lot of promise. He's only been wrestling for a few months, and he's one of the BioPro students, which is BioPro is the feeder into Beyond Wrestling, because it's Beyond Institute of Wrestling. Yeah. So we had a really good match, and it wasn't the guaranteed sellout that we wanted, because it was a last minute switch.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to run there again. But it's just amazing to say that you ran in that type of venue. So So Beyond's been doing some really good stuff. And I know I'll be wrestling for them coming up soon. So I'm excited for that.
Awesome. And there's those times where changes happen like that, cards subject to change and all that. But when you get the chance to make that first impression, it's okay, you make a good one, then you're back in there and you're getting more people oh man, the last time they were here, ooh, it was a good one, you ain't gonna want to miss this, and you just constantly build that.
The one that I had, it was, and this is the best one because this kind of actually ties into my further training. When I moved down to Georgia, and this is for everyone out there, I'm a legit chiropractor, DC. A lot of people on commentary, they say like PhD or MD, but it's DC, stands for Doctor of Chiropractic. That's kind of like Britt Baker with DMD.
DMD, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's Landon, Hale, DC. But when I moved from Kentucky to Georgia, that's where I went to chiropractic school, was Life University. Looked into different schools, looked into different places that I wanted to wrestle, to train. You know, they had one night, or it was what's now Nightmare Factory. I forgot what it was called before. I think they got One Fall or something like that. But they had a lot of different promising schools, and the one that was closest to me was APCW, which stood for All Pro Championship Wrestling. And the guy that ran under it was Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express.
Ooh.
So I was trained by Robert Gibson for 3.5 years. So it was from October of 18 up until May of 21. So 2.5 years. Yeah, 2.5 years, give or take.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, so going into this, when I was training under him, he was like, he wants to like kind of break my foundation a little bit and kind of help build it back up a little bit more. So from October 18 until January 19, I only had maybe a few sessions here and there just to kind of get my feet wet, just to understand what his style was about. And I haven't had a chance to go to a show because when chiropractic school, when you have classes, it's not a semester, it's quarters. So it's, every 10 to 11 weeks. So I wanted to see how my first quarter was, because it's usually like the weed out quarter where it's like, hey, do you actually want to stick through with this program? So then January hit, and this goes back to your question of, if someone, card subject to change. And I was out, this first time being there, sitting out, first match goes on. Then I hear someone say, "Where's Landon?" And then I get a text on my phone, and then I go to the back, and then someone said, do you have your gear with you? I said, yes. He goes, "Well, get it on because you're getting ready to go on." And it was in a semi main event, and it was for the tag team titles.
Ooh.
I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this also will, and so like, again, someone didn't show up, and I had the chance to showcase what I could do, even though, again, only being not even a few months in. So this made me happy.
Oh, yeah.
And then you fast forward the following month, this kind of goes into like my aha moment of wrestling. Same scenario. I was in we lost the tag team titles, and then ended up being a tag team. It would end up being a singles match for the tag team titles because my opponent and myself, we didn't have our tag team partners with us that night. Very out of coincidence. So we wrestled, and it was a singles match. I lost, and then it was that aha moment. Like, I knew this is something I could do for the rest of my life. And like, I started crying. Robert Gibson comes to the back. He gives me a hug. He said, "Great job, kid. I'm so proud of you." And like, I just knew in that moment. I'm like, it made me feel so whole. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When you have somebody of that caliber telling you that, that's got to be something special.
It was very, very special. Like that. Like, yeah, Robert's my wrestling dad, so it's awesome that I get to see him every now and then. I mean, like, again, being in Massachusetts, it's hard to see him, but but he was there when I wrestled. My biggest match was against Mustafa Ali, so he was there for that. So that was really cool. So
yeah, I remember seeing about that. I've got to meet him on one occasion. It was actually at a pro wrestling boot camp that I went to, that was actually in the same hotel I was put in the night before I went to Navy boot camp. So
wow.
I got the hugest laugh out of, man, I left here to go to one boot camp. Now I'm coming back here to go to another one.
Small world, huh?
Oh God, it was something funny. But when you brought up AR Fox, I remember him from, Lucha Underground. I was huge into that show. And I've been lucky enough to actually have a handful from there on, like, Famous B, I had him on, and like how, doing the intros, I gave him the same thing, as long as I get this. And then the thing that he would do in some of his vignettes, where it was like one of those cheesy car commercials where saying the number, get fame. And when he did that for the intro, I'm like, Oh my God, that was awesome.
That's awesome.
And then most recently, former Lucha Underground champion Marty the Moth.
Oh, I love Marty the Moth.
Oh yeah,
Oh, I love Martin. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, good dude there. But yeah, that's awesome. Like I read about some of the training you got to do there. Would it be safe to say, with the amount of matches that you have for Beyond Wrestling, is it everybody has their air quotes home promotion? Would that be kind of like yours, or is there another one that you consider more of the home promotion?
For right now, I don't think I have like a very heavy home promotion. I wish I did. I mean, and again, I have nothing against Beyond or anyone that's bringing me in, but again, it's smaller shows where because like I'm going to different places a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If I had to pick like some that are like I would consider a home promotion, I mean, as much as I miss my home in the South, I would say Action and TWE. But as of lately, it's been Daikaiju Pro, which they've recently ran a couple of shows there just starting up. But again, without them, I wouldn't have went to Thailand. So that's definitely one of those. That's definitely like my main show for sure.
Oh yeah, hell, I'm very familiar with TWE. I think the first ever show of theirs I saw was actually one of the ICW Pit Fighter shows where they had I'm like, it was my first time seeing anything like that. And, the venue's somewhat smaller, but it's like, oh my God. Like you have those moments watching wrestling where you're like, I want to be there.
Yep.
That was one when I first saw that. And I've been lucky enough to have a few people from there on. But, when you talked about Thailand, that actually perfect segue into one of the next topics I was going to want to talk about, because I actually got to talk about it with the guy that referred me on to you, our friend Argus. Wow,
Argus.
Argus. He is going to kill me for that one.
You made him sound like a pirate though, but he's he gets the booty from his experiences out in Thailand. So
yeah, I'm very familiar with the stories, man. That was something, because I'll ask you about your experience over there, but that was something him and I actually had in common there, because I've actually also been to Thailand on my deployment, just not Bangkok, but he's also been to where I went to in Phuket, or everybody likes to call it fuck it, but
I think someone says Phuket, which I mean we went there too, but yeah. So my experience was great. I mean, obviously it's different from August. I love August to death. He's the man. He's awesome.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I know that we definitely have different like ways of like enjoying ourselves. So he did his thing. So it was actually a blessing in disguise, because again, Daikaiju and Setup, they took care of me, and also it helped me and my wife go out there to have our honeymoon as well. So nice. So we've been married now for last April made 2 years we've been married, 4 years we've been together. And so we're like, we've had this discussion before of like, like where we want to go on our honeymoon, because she's a chiropractor as well. So it's hard for us to kind of like, because we're like Monday through Friday working, and then it's like, oh, that's what you look like, eat dinner, go to bed. Like we rarely see each other. But and I mean that's the sad truth, because again, Massachusetts, you're literally on the go every day. So anyways, when Daikaiju, I actually reached out to Daikaiju, and this was a funny story too, because they started up, and I was like, oh wow, like I'd love to wrestle for them, because I thought it was something to do with Beyond, because a lot of the shows that Beyond runs in the White Eagle that you see every Thursday for Wrestling Open. And then turns out it's under different management. It's a different person. He just wants to do something different. And then he was like, oh, I just got confirmation of a wrestler out of Thailand. Would you like to wrestle Monomop? I was like, absolutely. Had our match. And then they were like Fumi, which he's the president of Setup, which is out of Thailand. And then Daikaiju representatives were like, "Hey, we want you to go to Thailand. You would be a great representative of Daikaiju." I'm like, absolutely. And me and my wife, we went out there for our honeymoon. We were there for a week in Bangkok, and we got to stay in the nice, beautiful hotel. It was gorgeous. That Bangkok is just it's so safe. It's a different city. Like the culture there is so sweet. There's just a lot to experience. And, I mean, for us, most of the time, we just did a lot of shopping and just did a lot of, sightseeing, eat wonderful food, connect with friends. Very, very fortunate that I was on the same show as Zack Sabre Jr. and El Phantasmo.
Nice.
So, yeah, so I got the chance to talk to Zack Sabre, to El Phantasmo, got to do a training seminar under them. So that was nice to, get their insights on things. Had a wrestling they had their biggest wrestling show in that same venue that August wrestled in as well, because that's their only wrestling venue. Sold out crowd of 500 in that small packed room. So
yeah, it makes it that like wow.
It's and with wrestling too, again, obviously with the exception of like taking Revolver aside because they put on great shows, but some of these shows that you go to, they're like, oh, Canadian off of a Spanish fly, off of a finger poke of doom, off of through a flaming table onto a brainbuster. And then people are like, oh yeah, cool. They're stalling suplex, lost their minds. What is this? This is cool. But yeah, we had a good match, had a great time, and then as soon as we got finished there, the next morning we flew to Phuket, and that's where Jordan and I, and my wife, we got to experience a little bit of the island. We didn't really go out and do any sightseeing as much, just because we wanted to just again, we're constantly on the go here, so we just wanted to relax in the resort. We got Thai treatments. That was amazing. We got to do some yoga. We were very zen. We got to go to the beach, which was nice, and water was crystal clear. So it was obviously definitely a different experience than what August went through, but I definitely enjoyed myself, and I would go back in a heartbeat. So shout out to Daikaiju, shout out to Setup.
Most definitely. I know one of my fond memories when I was over there in Phuket, however the hell you want to pronounce it, but
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I actually was hanging out with some of my friends from my ship, and they had gotten a hotel out in town, and not really knowing anything about the hotel, I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Go to the pool there, and literally the back door to their room steps right into the pool.
It's awesome.
Oh, right? Drinking a drink out of a hollowed out pineapple. I'm like, oh God, I'm loving this.
We had an infinity pool at our resort, so it was so cool just to the good thing. So it's different with Thai treatments, like Thailand, because obviously people give massages and stuff like that, but there it's it makes me appreciate what we have more, considering over there in Thailand it's cheap when it comes to currency. 1,000 Thai baht is $2, and so if someone's like, oh, this costs you 5,000 Thai baht, and then you quickly add it up, you're like, oh, it's only $10. That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that was I will say the only thing that was expensive was the universal stuff. So Nike, I was like, oh, I'm curious how much Nike would cost, and it's oh, this many Thai baht. And I'd calculate, I'm like, oh, it's still 100, $200 some dollars for these shoes. I'm like, God, come on,
can't get a little deal here. No,
no, listen, they make our shopping look like mini marts, like flea markets. It'd be you know this experience. They have Central World where it's 9 floors.
Oh yeah,
and it's double the size of a regular mall. And when you walk in, you're just it's what kind of Narnia stuff am I getting myself into? 9th floor is a cinema. 8th floor is grocery store and food courts. 7th floor is technology. 6th floor is it's all sectioned out. I'm like, this is crazy. And there's food everywhere. That's
awesome. I was having a great time. And you've traveled a lot, not just in the States, but other than Thailand. So you also been to Germany.
Yes.
And me being, I'm part German actually, and the most I've seen of Germany is through the Frankfurt airport windows. That's about the most I've seen of Germany's. I'm like, man, I'm part German. I got to get back there at some point.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to. Yeah, Germany is awesome. I will say I wasn't out there for a long time just because, again, wrestling. So funny enough, I could say like it's so cool to say this in retrospect now, but in March I got to wrestle in three different countries, three different continents. So you have USA, you have Germany, you have Thailand, you have North America, you have Europe, you have Asia. I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Wow, that
Yeah, and so with my time from work, I only get so many amounts, like so many weeks of PTO. So I only had to use that for my Thailand trip because I was out there for 2 weeks. So with this, I had to do. I know I sound like a madman. I got off work Thursday afternoon, and this is Eastern time. So I got off work for Thursday afternoon. So I was done by like 11 o'clock. Went home, got on a bus, went to the airport, did a connecting flight to Dublin to Germany. Got there Friday morning. We walked. Me and my friends. We walked to our place that we were staying at, and then we were luckily, walking distance over to where WXW was having their 16 carat event. Did the wild card edition, wrestled there, and then walked there Friday, watched the first night. Second day was the wrestling show. Then stayed there for carat the second night. Then walked back to the same place, got on a bus, flew back home in the afternoon, and then went to work the next morning just to work for those next few days and then fly out to Thailand.
holy shit! Wow.
Yes. But
I have talked to people that I say that their schedules are like a damn machine. That right there is just another example of that. Wow.
Yes. And so going back to the original question though, like Germany, and like I said, I only had a few days of experience in Germany, but it's different. And again, we don't expect people to speak the English language, but there are people that will translate and stuff like that for us. I didn't get that much of an opportunity, but I do have a good feeling that I will probably go back sometime before the year ends and then have like a another like excursion, do like a week adventure, and then just be able to experience more of Germany. So hopefully that's in the works. Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, no, I hope you get back there. All right, now I got two categories here. One's the name game where I name off some people and you give me quick thoughts on them. And I try to theme it towards my guests as much as possible, where you've at the very least shared a locker room, if not been in a match with these people.
Okay.
So first one, we kind of talked about them a little bit, but I figured such a huge match, might as well start off with it. Mustafa Ali.
Oh man, that guy has a lot of talent. I wish WWE would use him a lot more. It made me sad that he left, but it also gave him a good opportunity. Again, he's doing great. I got to talk to him so many times, and it was a great experience. Working with him, being able to be under that tree. Great experience. Very very humbled for the fact that not only did I have a match with him, but he also threw me a curveball when the ref put up the X-Division title. I'm like, wait a minute, no, he's not, and he put the X-Division title on the line. Nope. And I was like, that's the coolest. Again, the 10-year-old me marked out where I was like, I'm fighting for the X-Division title, and this isn't even on a TNA platform. This is the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
But no, he's a great guy. Very very respectful. Very very giving. He's so talented. And I remember there was a list. I don't know where it was, but there was a list that I made so many years ago, and I wish it would, how you have like the feed, like the Facebook timeline feed where it keeps popping back up. Yeah. I wish that somewhere in there it would pop back up, because I remember my top 5 wrestlers that if I was to meet them or wrestle someone from the WWE to this day, and I had my top 5 and he happened to be number 5. And the fact that I got to wrestle him, it was such a cool moment. And we got to talk about that experience, and we just got to talk life in general. And he's such a wholesome dude. So I'm really thankful that I got to have that moment with him. And if it wasn't for the Wrestling Junkies podcast as well. And if it wasn't for Action Wrestling, that wouldn't happen. So shout out to both of them. It was such a surreal experience. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the fact that you didn't know anything about the X-Division title getting to be put on the line, like that just reminds me. Like I've seen matches where the person literally didn't know they were going to be winning until they were going to pin the guy, and the guy says, "Congrats." And he was like, "Huh?"
What? It's such a surreal moment, but I was really thankful for that matchup, though. Great guy.
Oh yeah, I've got nothing but fond memories of the time I got to meet him. Now on to the next person. Now I got to say, and this might give away who the person is, but it takes a special group to get over a phrase like "scissor me daddy ass."
Oh,
Max Caster.
oh gosh. Funny enough, we had he's a good guy itself, great talent. We actually, we talked before, and I know I had a wrestling match with him a couple of years ago at Open. Great talent, very thankful for that match too. I remember us having a conversation, and this goes back to what we talked about before about the Good Doctor. He was mentioning to me something about it's kind of like a web diagram where it's like you have to find out your characteristics, even if it's a real life thing, and so like or if it's just like something you make up, like the Undertaker or whatever. Like you want to have like a focal point in there. So he was like, for example, for me, for Max Caster, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of early Max Caster? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I'm trying. Dang. I'm trying to freaking remember.
So what's the thing that he does when he comes out to stage?
Listen.
Yep, he raps. He's a rapper. That's like the one thing. Like with Joe Hendry, what's the one thing that catches on? He's his
Say
theme song.
His name and he appears.
I would laugh right now if he just like jumps out right here. Oh, that'd be so good. But no,
after you finish, I got something on that I've actually talked about before, but
yeah. But no, like we were talking and he was like giving me those ideas of like, you have to have these components and you can still have small things that can go into that. But as long as all of that connects, that's what makes it real. And I was like, I never thought about it that way. So that's where, and I talked to the promoter of Scenic City Invitational, Scott Hensley, and he mentioned to me as the Good Doctor. He's like, why not? And I'm like, yeah, you're a great guy. You're a chiropractor. You do good things. You're a good guy, good doctor. I'm like, that's a good point. And so, focal point, chiropractor, everything else falls into place. So, so Max kind of helped me with that idea. So really thankful for that. But yeah, he's a great guy, great talent. Yeah, he's definitely wonderful to share that locker room with him.
Oh yeah, I've got to watch him live one time. I haven't got to meet him yet, but that would definitely be on my list of wanting to do. But back to Joe Hendry. Fuck. Okay, I guess I didn't believe. Okay. I guess I didn't believe enough. But a friend of mine and I, we actually had this idea, kind of playing off of, when the glorious bombs that Gargano and Ciampa would do.
Yeah,
we had this idea of that with Joe Hendry. And then, like, we would have times where, starting off, it'd be like, we kind of just did. We're like, oh, shit, guess didn't believe right away. But then we actually get to include him in it. And then it's just a whole bunch of random ones throughout. Like, we had so many ideas, just like that whole spider web. We have the focal point, and it just
went to everywhere. Yep. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. All right, on to the next person. I haven't seen this guy in a while, but I do, when talking about high flyers and stuff, this guy is one hell of a one. Paul London.
Oh, I love Paul London. Such a good guy. And this goes back to, again, this goes back to 2004 when I got back into wrestling. Rey Mysterio, favorite wrestler ever. But then when we look into like the different, again, I was always a high flying, fanatic. And so the one person I saw was Paul London. And I'm like, man, this is such like it's so cool that, I never expected, 10-year, like, again, 10-year-old me with the X-Division title being on the line and me wrestling him over the moon. I'm like, I can't believe this happening. But then, again, I had to test myself. I wasn't a fan of how he won, but very thankful that, I had that opportunity to wrestle him. Great guy in and out of the ring. Very respectful, understanding of like what he wants when it comes to like telling the story in the ring. Such a genuine guy. Really, really thankful for him, and just kind of chatting about life and chatting about wrestling, and making these promises with myself with growing up in the business, like going going further in the business. I keep saying growing up like I started when I was 2, but like growing in the business.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very thankful for him, and he's such, again, I have nothing but good things to say about him. He's such a good guy.
That's awesome. It's always nice when you get to have those interactions with people. Like I think it's one of my more recent recordings where pro wrestling is one of those sports where you can grow up watching somebody, and there's a good chance if one day you get into it, you could share a locker room or a ring with said person. You don't really get that in football, baseball, basketball, whatever. And pretty much almost any other sport, you don't really get that. Pro wrestling is like that one thing where you might have the chance.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. And last but not least for this category, this guy, I am actually sponsoring or part sponsoring his current European tour that he is on himself. Cody Manhorn, aka Ref Shiny Shoes.
Oh, I love Shiny Shoes. Love Cody. Oh, man, my favorite ref ever. Yeah, that's awesome. No, he's a good guy. Very, and we've had conversations before, with wrestling, because I know that he just primarily stuck out as a ref, and now he's made PWI 500, like like a lot of us, and he's earned that, and he's done a lot for himself. And again, great guy, great guy. We had I think it was a show that we did for, I think it was the Scenic City Rumble in early March, and then he had to do a reffing gig the next day for ETU, and then he rode up he drove up with us, and we literally had the whole day of just us coming back up to the Northeast together. So he's such a good guy. Love Cody, and I wish him luck on his journey, because he's going to do great things out there in the UK.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like I had him on, and then not too long after, he asked me about, if I'd be interested. I'm like, me, when it comes to sponsoring stuff, sometimes I have to kind of, like, if I'm sponsoring somebody, sometimes I have to put it in increments, like so much one paycheck, so much another. And when he said that would be fine, I'm like, shit, let's do this. And like, he's got my logo on his shirt that he had made for there, and I'm like, dude, this is freaking awesome. Like, if you would go back to, talk about growing up, if you would have gone to 10-year-old me and tell me one day I'm going to be sponsoring a wrestler's European tour, or I get to talk to somebody that's performed in the Tokyo Dome and Madison Square Garden, I would have thought you were full of shit.
Right.
So just the whole, like, holy crap, this stuff is actually happening, is like, I can imagine, much like some of the experiences you got with, Max Caster, Mustafa Ali, Paul London. It's like, holy crap. Like, especially with like Mustafa Ali and Paul London, it's like, these guys were on some of those huge stages, and now I'm like getting to share a ring with these guys. It's like, holy shit.
Amazing moment. I'm very thankful, and I think we all get into our heads, and I've been a huge critic of myself on this. I think we've all get into our heads where with wrestling, and and again, I'm sure with podcasting and stuff like that, like we want to get to the next big thing. Like, man, like I want to go to Japan. Man, I want to interview this person. Man, I want to do this. But I think we all never get that time to sit down and enjoy what's around us because we're always so quick with what's coming next. We're always so quick with the newest thing coming out. We're always so quick with who we're wrestling for, and so it's hard. And like sometimes it's hard for me to digest because I'm a perfectionist. Like you said before, worst critic is yourself. And I get into my head a lot because I'm working hours on end, Monday through Thursday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or 6 p.m. adjusting so many people. And I'm actually going to ask you this question too. So with me being a chiropractor, how many people do you think that I adjust throughout a week? And just to take into consideration, it is me and one other doctor. We only adjust from 7 to 10 a.m., 3 to 6 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then we just adjust on Tuesdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Take a guess, culminate it. How many people do you think together?
Oh, God. I don't even know. I even know where to begin with a number.
Just take a guess because I'm just curious because I've been doing this experiment with people.
Just to throw a number out there because I'm more than likely going to get it wrong. I'll just say 100.
550.
Holy fuck. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So by myself, I'm usually just adjusting roughly 200 to 250 patients a week by myself. And then on top of that, transitioning to wrestling on some Thursday nights if I'm on at open, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So my schedule gets hectic. I get all in my head about things, but then I realize, again, going back to Ali, going back to wrestling for the X-Division title, wrestling Paul London. So you have to appreciate those moments that are there. So I've tried my best to live in the moment versus worrying about what's going on in the future.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been guilty of doing, trying to think ahead, but then, I always at least try to get myself in like, okay, I got to talk with John Wayne Murdoch. I got to talk with Bronson Reed. I got to talk with Kerry Silken, who used to own frickin' Ring of Honor. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
All right, now on to my second category. Some random questions where some might be wrestling related, some might not be, some might have absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far.
I'm here for it.
All right. So, first one, craziest in-match moment for you?
Split my head open. Last year, Phoenix City Invitational, like I don't know if you're a religious person or anything, but like, do you ever go to like church and you have like those like thick wooden pew chairs where it's like it's very sharp? So imagine those type of chairs, but at TWE Arena. They line those so like because where it's a bigger event, they would have that lined up across the wall. Where have you ever watched a TWE event?
Oh yeah.
So you know how like when you look at hard cam, like when hard cam's looking at the ring to the right, you'll have that big wall there. So they would have seats. They would have seats there. Eli Knight did a dive onto me in 2023, and as I came back, it split my head open.
Ew.
And I read, and like blood was gushing down. And I mean, like if you're to talk to, like Cody Manhorn, or if you're to talk to Matt Griffin from Action, like you could just tell, like, or anyone there, they're like, wow, that was a lot of blood. And even like deathmatch wrestlers, them, they were like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, you're asking me and you're a deathmatch wrestler? Come on. but obviously in a joking way, but no, I split my head open, went to the ER, and I wrestled throughout the rest of the match. Everything was fine. And then the next day I wrestled with 6 staples in the back of my head. And then I let that heal a week later, took them out. So that was probably the craziest in-ring experience where I split my head and then I had to wrestle with, just blood gushing down the back of my skull.
God. Yeah, that would fit. Like, I mean, this is the thing with professional wrestling. People, they'll often say, oh, the fake stuff. But it's like you, with your situation, or the one that jumps to my mind that I've actually witnessed, you might remember hearing, oh God, there was an NXT house show where the ref like literally got his like leg just snapped like that. Like his leg is literally at this angle. He still counts the 1, 2, 3, and they cart him off. They carted him off right by me. I was on the floor. I was on the main floor for that.
Jeez. I couldn't imagine. That's awful stuff.
Yeah, it was like seeing that all over social media, like literally as soon as we got out of the arena. It was like, holy shit.
Oh.
Yeah, it was nuts. All right, now we've talked about, traveling to Germany and Thailand. Those are some long ass plane rides. Everybody has their own ways of passing time on a plane. What was your favorite way of passing time on the plane?
Either sleeping and I mean, so with Germany, it was different because it was the Dublin, and that was like a 5-hour flight. So we got a meal. I didn't really sleep because I was like, I mean, I tried to nap for a little bit, but I would watch a movie. So like if it's longer flights where like I know movies are coming up, I would watch the Harry Potter series. I am a big Harry Potter fanatic. I love them. And then like when it was me and my wife going to Thailand, we had a connecting flight to Dubai, and then from Dubai to Thailand. So that was 11 hours. No, it was 12 hours to Dubai, and then it was 6 hours to Thailand. So we spent a lot of time just eating, sleeping, watching movies, playing games. I usually like to play. I'm an old school soul, but I played the game 2048, where it's like you have to add like the numbers together. You'll get hooked on it if you know what I'm talking about.
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but usually it's just watching. It's usually watching series or taking naps, because usually like if I tend to get the earlier flights, and that tends to get me going. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah, when I was taking leave from the Navy, I would literally always try to get like, at least coming back home, I would always try to get like the earliest flight I could possibly find, where like I remember one time the doors to the airport hadn't even opened. And I was there, and somebody finally came up within a few minutes and unlocked the doors. It's like, oh. But yeah, no, I'm with you on the early flights when, in situations like that, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. With the name of a show like I have, I would feel weird if I didn't ask this question. Favorite drink, whether alcoholic or otherwise?
Miller Lite.
Okay. That's a solid choice.
Because it is a fine Pilsner.
I do. My wife is big on Miller Lite. Obviously can't drink them now.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah, we're expecting. Yeah. Not technically due until January, but they're inducing her like shortly after Christmas.
Make sure she chugs one after.
Oh yeah. And like I've already planned it out, because I got this idea when I was like, okay, my big regret with our girls was I never got to get them a toy. Like I'm like, little kids, they deserve their dad to get them a toy. So yeah. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting this kid shit before he even gets here. So I was looking, and I came across a plush toy that looked like a cartoonish version of Bray Wyatt on his last run. Yeah. And then like the light bulb went off, where I was like, have a picture of the toy with my son. We're expecting a boy. And I'm going to be like, welcome to the world, little Firefly, with the toy in there, and then tag JoJo in there. So it's like, people are still remembering your guy there.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's awesome. Well, congrats to you and your wife. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a mix of excited and nervous. Like every freaking ultrasound, it's like, oh God, oh God, oh God. And then, oh, everything's good. And I'm like, okay, I can breathe for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've actually favorite drink. I mean, alcoholic wise, I've actually been drinking my favorite Kona Big Wave.
Nice.
Like, yeah, my absolute favorite, other than Stone Cold's Broken Skull American Lager.
Oh, I love their lagers.
I would not mind a sponsorship from either. I mean, I'm manifesting the shit out of that. Let's
Can I get a hell yeah?
hell yeah.
I usually say hell yeah because my last name's Hale, so I'm trying to get away with that too.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm a huge Dr. Pepper fiend.
Nice. I'm a water drinker.
Okay, nothing
I
wrong with that. I probably need to drink some more myself. My wife tells me that all the time,
Yep.
but she's like, "Oh, you got a problem." I'm like, as long as I got some, I don't got a problem.
There you go.
Yeah, the one time I actually got to tell her that, like, sitting right there with her, she just gives me this looking like, you fucking idiot. Yeah, we have that sort of a relationship, especially during football season, because my in-laws are all 49ers people.
I'm
Like
so sorry.
that playoff game,
Yeah.
game last season. Imagine me, the lone Packer fan, in the middle of a whole shitload of 49er people.
I would have been with there and you I would have been with you in spirit, brother.
I appreciate it. Who knows? Maybe this upcoming season we'll see that matchup again.
Go Pack Go.
No, go Pack Go, and indeed. All right. Last but not least here, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Um ears open, mouths shut. I think a lot of people when they get into the wrestling business, because again, everyone's going to have a different experience with wrestling. I personally had a different thing, but always just be good. I mean, like even like Zack Sabre and El Phantasmo told us this too, and it's like be a brother, be a bro, be a sis, be a whatever, just be cool. Like there's people in wrestling, again, like if someone gives you a hard time, it may not be you personally. Like if you go up and you're, like you want to show face, you want to be able to show your mannerisms, show that you are a helping hand and stuff like that. But don't overcrowd people. You want to just be there, just show up, show your respects, pay your dues, just say, hey, I'm here if you need anything. Be kind, just work hard. Again, keep the mouth shut. I mean, a lot of times when people speak on social media, everyone's gonna have their own opinions, but you have to be Switzerland in those moments because again, like one day you could say something, then the next day they're like, oh, we don't like what you said, blah blah blah. It's best to just kind of just go at your own pace, do what you want to do with your life, do it in a respectful way that it's going to get you the recognition. Like it took, and again, everyone's paths are different. Don't let that kill. Don't compare yourselves to others because it's going to kill you in the long run.
No,
like you have people that have been in this business for 20 years and they're still trying to catch a break versus someone that's been wrestling for just 3 years and here they are, doing great things on TV. So
yeah,
and like I've been in it for 6 years and I feel like I'm still trying to find my way, even though I'm doing some good stuff. But just stay on the course, stay on that path. Don't let the nose up off the grindstone. Just keep pushing and don't be afraid to fail, but also be respectful at the same time.
Oh yeah, all great advice. And funny, some of that advice coming from some New Japan talent, because there are some New Japan talent that I actually got to run into once where, at that fan fest I was involved in, where like it was Alex Coughlin and Uemura.
Mm-hmm.
And like literally, whether you were, podcaster, selling merch there, you were part of the ring crew, whatever, they literally were some of the first to go around and literally seek out everybody, shaking hands and stuff. And it was like, Dude, I already had a high opinion of those guys, but that right there was just, going right along that, being cool. And, you would, I don't think you'd be surprised how often I hear, keeping your ears open and your mouth shut, because it's like you might know a lot, but you don't know everything.
Bingo. Yeah, I mean, and again, if someone's trying to give you some good advice, you don't want to just like say, yeah, but this. It's like you may know this already, but just respect the person that's giving you that advice. You may know it. You don't want to show them an attitude, because the next people coming up, they want to give you that same respect too.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yep. All right. Well, before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on the good doctor, they can go ahead and get them there.
So I do, and I always say this every single time. I love my fans so much. They're amazing. You all are awesome. My name in wrestling is the same as my real name. I do have a Facebook page that's my actual name, and then I do have like the fan page. Please give the like to the fan page. Please respect my privacy. I love my privacy. Just I appreciate you. I'll come up and talk to you and say hi, give you the biggest hug in the world. I am the big hugger. I love hugs, but just please just give that like button a click. That's all I'm asking. But yes, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Landon Hale 3. You can also find me at Twitter. That's where I'm mostly at, and that's at Hale 3, because I'm a punny person. You can also find a lot of I haven't been active on my YouTube channel lately, but you can find a lot of my recent matches on there. And then you can also, if you want to get some merch from Landon Hale, you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Landon Hale to get your Good Doctor merch there.
Oh, most definitely. We'll get all of that in the description. That is about all I have. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. It was an absolute pleasure. Best of luck out there from beyond, and more trips out to Thailand and all that. I look forward to hearing all about it, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Hopefully I come back soon.